My name is Ross. I run mobile sales for Twitter in Europe, and today we're immensely proud to sponsor the App Promotion Summit, and you're going to hear from us for a couple of times today. I'm going to talk more broadly about where Twitter is now, where we'll be in the future, and my team, two expert account managers from our gaming and consumer apps team respectively, are holding a workshop at 2:15. So we'd encourage you guys to stop by there to say hello and understand all of the best tips and tricks, best practices on our platform. So as you would expect, with Twitter, everything starts with a tweet, and there is a mass exchange and data transfer on our platform every 2 days. Every 2 days, 1 billion tweets are delivered and exchanged on Twitter from users like Ashton Kutcher, who's talking about TapTalk, a well-known app in Berlin. This app has just achieved homepage real estate on my smartphone. Or users talking about their favorite gaming apps. Trivia Crack is love, Trivia Crack is life. Or indeed in the music category, where this user is talking about Deezer and his passion for Deezer. Or other apps like BlaBlaCar, with this user talking about how BlaBlaCar gives him life. So the purpose of this is to illustrate that all of that conversation does not happen in a vacuum, and they are signals of intent. They are moments, they are opportunities for app marketers to engage with users around their interests and around their passions. And when we look at the last 12 months of consecutive data on Twitter and the top 20 apps in the App Store alone, we can see that the top 20 apps have delivered almost 500 million mentions on the Twitter platform. So we believe that Twitter is the home of app-related conversation. There is no other platform in the world where users come to Twitter to exchange thoughts, to share applications, to become editors of their own app experiences, and ultimately install different categories of apps to their smartphone. With that said, we believe that conversation equates to installs. As the brand awareness of your application builds inside Twitter, so too does install volume outside of Twitter, and we have some data to illustrate that. So we've looked at various categories of apps in the App Store, from some of our own owned and proprietary applications like Periscope, Vine, but other applications like Runtastic, Candy Crush Soda Saga, Neko Atsume, and multiple other apps in the App Store. And what we see is a very strong corollary relationship between users talking about these apps inside Twitter and the relationship between install volume outside of Twitter. So what you see are two trend lines here. The blue trend line is conversation volume inside Twitter, and the green trend line is app ANI data, indicating install volume outside of Twitter over the same time frame. And you can see that the relationship between the two trend lines is very symbiotic. It's a mathematical correlation of 0.9, which is indicative of a very strong correlation scientifically. And I want to show you how some marketers are approaching that live canvas, that live creative canvas. Do we have any The Walking Dead TV show fans in the audience today? Or even of the mobile game? Great, a good sample. So this is illustrative of how some of our partners in app marketing are approaching real-time and creative marketing on Twitter. And what you're about to see is a clip from the TV show that subsequently went on to trend on Twitter and become a meme on the internet. If there are any Michonne fans in the audience, you'll recognize this clip, and I hope we have audio. So apologies folks, no audio, but what happened in that clip was a moment in the TV show where Michonne, one of the characters, was talking about a can of tomatoes that somebody had stole whilst somebody was asleep. So what's the opportunity if you're a mobile games marketer that runs and manages the IP of this TV show online with a platform like Twitter, where there's real-time contextual native marketing? The next game is to deliver a simple message to the right user at the right moment and at the right time. When all the protein bars are gone, you're going to need supplies. Play the official Walking Dead moments now. And I think Twitter in its simplest form represents that immediacy, represents that urgency, where games marketers or app marketers can connect with their audience in an instant around their passions and around what they're watching, what they're engaging with, whether that's TV or whether that's any other interest on Twitter. But first and foremost, that starts with content. And we believe good content powers performance on the Twitter platform, whether that's around video creative or whether that's around standard display creative. We can see that 52% of Twitter users will talk about apps they've found on Twitter with their family and friends. So going back to that corollary relationship you see between install volume and conversation volume on Twitter, a lot of that is powered by word of mouth distribution, which is difficult to quantify. But on Twitter, we're able to measure and provide robust research proofs around that, and through all of the content that users share on our platform, having buttons to install that can be measured quite easily. Over the last 12 months, we've been developing our audience intensively, where we now have our own owned and operated reach of 810 million users. That's 310 million users inside the core Twitter app and 500 million users in our logged out experience. But we're also taking that one step further. We're developing high performance audiences through a business we own called MoPub. And a solution that we named Twitter Audience Platform, which we launched about 2 weeks ago, is built on top of MoPub and powered by MoPub. And with Twitter Audience Platform, you have the ability to reach another additive billion unique users across iOS and Android devices to drive performance at scale. When we look into the trends and patterns in the behavior of those users, we can see that there's a very strong appetite for app-related content on Twitter, where 30% of our users download an app they see on our platform, and 25% of our users trust Twitter to recommend those apps. Not only is there a lean forward consumption behavior on Twitter, we also see that those users do more and they buy more, where on average 58% of our users have downloaded an app in the last 4 weeks. And when we look at other categories like gaming, as an example, that number increases to 61%, and in travel that number increases to 65%. So our users are constantly in this app discovery mode on our platform. We also see that those users are very high engagers. They're good actors. They're users that you want to get into your application, users with good session depth, and users with good behavior beyond the install, where 36% of our users have apps on their phone that they've paid for, and 27% have paid for in-app purchases, culminating in a very strong number that will drive your bottom line. Looking at the UK alone as a single market, we can see that Twitter UK users have invested almost $70 million on apps and on in-app purchases in the last 4 weeks. So I want to speak to a little bit of detail about our belief in the marriage between products and marketing. And in the previous presentation, you also heard that sentiment echoed. And across our entire ecosystem, it first and foremost starts with the developer. We're building tools that enable developers to create great apps through our platform SDK, which is called Fabric. And inside Fabric, there are numerous capabilities, numerous kits that are modular kits which developers can build into their apps. From the Twitter kit, which enhances your distribution on Twitter. From MoPub, where developers can monetize their apps. Through to Digits, where developers can build a sign-on identity leveraging the phone number and SMS number of a user. That then moves into growth. We're also empowering our partners in marketing to grow their apps through Twitter, through the core Twitter app on mobile app promotion, which we launched in 2014, and now in 2016, the next iteration of that, which is Twitter Audience Platform. I want to zero in on the Twitter kit. If there's one takeaway from my presentation today, it's that everybody in this room who works with an application or who owns an application can immediately boost their organic distribution on Twitter through a very simple implementation. And that's made possible through the Twitter kit. Every app can achieve virality and connectivity. Every app can achieve K-factor on Twitter. So what you're about to see is the user flow and experience when an application has implemented the Twitter kit. So sign in with Twitter, sharing with Twitter, and then the viral loops that take place on our platform thereafter. So this particular user discovers a tweet, an app card on Twitter that has been shared organically, and they engage with that piece of content. They open the tweet and they click through to the App Store. They sign into the game and they're playing their experience inside the game. Now, upon unlocking a specific achievement or completing a level, this user wants to share that experience with their own community on Twitter who they believe it will be relevant and a compelling experience for. In this example, they share it to Twitter, using hashtags to ensure that the content is discoverable, and using a deep linking card to ensure that the user can install via a button very easily. When that content immediately is distributed to their community of followers on Twitter, if 2%, 5% of that follower base engage in the same cyclical behaviors that that user has just engaged in, you're putting yourself in a position where you're hypercharging your paid media spend or hypercharging your organic reach on Twitter alone. And we've seen numerous success stories around this. One particularly interesting one is with a developer, Mag Interactive in Sweden. Their game is Ruzzle, and numerous other games in the casual category. And over the course of an 18-month period, they saw 22 million organic installs on Twitter through very simple sharing implementation. Reached #1 in the App Store, and to this day in 2016 are achieving 150,000 shares per week. I want to speak now about marketing solutions and the solutions that we're investing in over the next 6 months. As most folks in this room will be aware of, we've a number of different solutions to reach objectives at every stage throughout the funnel, from driving awareness to acquiring new users to re-engaging users to optimizing for conversions. But the one I want to focus on today is Twitter Audience Platform, which we launched to market about 2 weeks ago. And Twitter Audience Platform represents for Twitter the moment at which we begin to bring together all of the pieces of our ads ecosystem. So over the course of the last 24 months, we acquired numerous different businesses, from Tap Commerce to MoPub to Nano Media that manages native creatives, and we've brought all of that technology into one single unified ad tech stack to reach users at scale. We have access to over 1 billion unique devices. So we've taken all of the great assets from Twitter and taken all of the great assets from all of those parts of the ecosystem. What I'm going to describe to you is the use case for a marketer as they move through that buying flow. So OpenTable comes to Twitter and they want to reach a wide variety of different users. Twitter is very powerful data. We also achieve and receive other powerful data through our publisher partners on MoPub, where OpenTable can now reach users who are females interested in restaurants, who are located in London, who are on an iPhone 6 device, who are interested in other categories that are good secondary audiences for them. And not only can they use those targeting parameters on Twitter, they can also use that data to project out into our network of partner apps. So OpenTable will now reach users who exhibit those same traits, characteristics, targeting parameters on apps like the Daily Mail, or on apps like Der Spiegel in Germany, or on apps like Trivia Crack in the States, as an example, to drive greater scale. And the next piece is very important. So we received a lot of feedback from our partners whilst we were building this solution that we need a solution that offers strong return on effort and strong return on investment. Time is precious and we need to give time back to our teams. And what we did in taking that feedback was build a one-click solution where marketers can now seamlessly extend and syndicate all of their creatives on Twitter through a creative programmatic rendering engine across all of our network of partner apps, using one set of targeting signals, one set of data, one set of creatives, and one single bidding model to ensure that you as a marketer are achieving stronger return on effort. We also adopted the same process for re-engagement, and you hear the previous speaker talk about how re-engagement is only the first step, and we at Twitter also adopt that philosophy where we feel that user acquisition is ultimately a lead. It's a lead for your business, and the next step for you as a marketer is how can you convert and nurture that lead to ensure that they're providing you with strong ROI as a whole. Churn is endemic in every single category in the App Store. The majority of users churn after a 2-month period. Retention rates are only as high as 20% in the most high category. So it's important that you're thinking about this and have a view on this for your business. At Twitter, we adopt a solution that focuses on 3 pillars. The first is App Insights, the second is tailored audiences, and the third is reach and re-engage solution, which you can do on a frequency basis. With App Insights, you can send all of your event data directly to Twitter across your entire marketing mix to ensure you're setting up rules-based campaigns for how you can re-engage those users. As an example, if you want to reach users who have installed your app and completed a purchase and reached a shoe page or abandoned the shopping cart at that specific point in time, you can use Boolean logic to set up very defined audiences on Twitter. You can then pass those audiences to ensure you're acquiring users similar to those users via tailored audiences, and also focus on how many times you want to reach and re-engage those users. As we know, it takes multiple impressions for a user to convert and to bring them through that funnel. The same experience where you work with one single creative is also made possible on Twitter, where we will seamlessly extend that creative into native on Twitter audience platform. So, that is a quick snapshot of where we are moving to today as a business. Other product big bets for us in the future are to focus on bidding models that will provide more return on investment for you. As an example, there's a burgeoning trend in the industry where you can bid and pay on a deeper funnel event, whether that is a purchase or whether that is a registration. That is something that we believe at Twitter is very important in the industry and are increasingly moving closer to. And the creative experience on Twitter is also something that we're investigating heavily. Native represents a huge opportunity. About 20% of inventory on MoPub is native inventory, but not a lot of DSPs have yet configured buy-side technology in order to reach and buy that inventory effectively. So we feel that there are two large trends for where the industry is progressing, and you'll be able to see more of that from us on a product perspective as we move into the end of 2016. So some key takeaways on my side before passing over to James. Twitter is the home of app conversation. We've seen that over the last 12 months alone, there's been 500 million mentions of the top 20 apps on Twitter. It's a very narrow view, looking at app names only and title names only. So explicit, high intent, high value audience for every marketer in this room. And the second is that integration with Twitter's Fabric platform drives organic growth. We've seen that success story from Mag Interactive. There are also multiple success stories outside of the gaming category. It's not a gaming opportunity exclusively. It's open to every marketer and every app in the App Store. The third is that you can grow and re-engage your users with high return on effort through Twitter audience platform because of the big bets we're making in programmatic technology. And finally, Twitter's end-to-end platform, if you look at our vision for developers to build great apps, monetize great apps, and achieve hyper-growth through marketing solutions, our end-to-end ecosystem is focused exclusively on the developer and on the product. And that's something that's very important to us as a business, and important that we're nurturing grassroots developers and grassroots community there. So thank you so much for your time, folks. I hope that was a valuable session. It gives you some color into how we're thinking about the ecosystem and where we'll move to by end of year. And please do drop by the workshop at 2:15 to learn more from the team. Thank you.